Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode 101, number 101, 101. Wow, 101. Anyway, today is going to be really special because now I'm starting to get into some of my advanced tools, and this first part is going to be on the 2 things that cause you to be overweight. You got to hear this. Stay tuned. Hi, all my dear friends. How are you today? Well, if you've been listening to my podcast, then you know that I am not looking out at the Caribbean Sea anymore. I am now back in the Midwest, looking out at the woods and the trees and the skies, and it's so different, and yet it too has its own beauty. And as you might be able to tell, I love nature. It's absolutely one of my ways of how I work off my own stress, and how I learned many years ago, many years ago, that one way for me to make myself feel better that always has a positive result is to be able to get out in nature and move my body, and every single time it works. So it doesn't really matter if I'm walking the beach or walking the woods. As long as I'm out in nature, my emotions go positive. And I know for you, you're all looking for the same thing, how to find pleasure in things that give you positive results. But really today, I am very excited because now that I'm in a new location, I also have a lot of new things that I want to teach you. So over the first 100 episodes, most of my podcasts have been using most of my old tools and my old programs, or a lot of the programs that I still use. But you know, I have clients and I have podcast listeners alike that for some people, this program is still really hard to apply. And there are many reasons for this that I'm going to go into a little bit today. So what I've done over time and through my own mentor, Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School, where I instruct for her and teach her coaches and certify her coaches, she too has embarked on brand new tools on this weight loss journey for those of us who have had trouble using the old tools. So when I talk about the old tools, the main thing that I want to talk about is, using the hunger scale and using the emotional hunger scale, and to be able to eat whatever you want and to joy eat and to plan your joy eats and all of that. Well, one of the things that she's found, and I certainly have found the same thing for many of my clients, is that they have a hard time knowing when they need to stop eating, and that many of my clients feel hungry all the time. And as much as I talk about distinguishing the difference between being hungry emotionally and being hungry physically, what I have found out is that there are actually, and this is from Brooke especially, what I have found out is that there are only 2 reasons why we are overweight. And of course, it's because we overeat, but there are 2 reasons why we overeat. One reason is over hunger, and the other reason is over desire. Now, over desire has to do with working with the mind and emotions, and over hunger has to do with the physiological body and dealing with its hunger. So first, what I want to cover with you is the idea of what overhunger is and why so many of you have such a problem with knowing your own hunger scale. So in the past, what I've always asked you to do is start eating at a -2 and stop at a +2. And for many of you, you do that. And for me, I've done that for years and it's worked beautifully for me. But for many people, they still have a hard time identifying it, especially when to stop. And not only that, even if they do stop, they'll tell me, I still feel hungry all the time. And for many years, I couldn't quite understand it because I thought it was just emotion. But now with Brooke's work and me doing more research on this is what I have found. And this is especially has to do a lot with inflammation in the body, but it also has to do with what you eat has a huge influence on how hungry you feel. And this is what I attribute to overhunger. And the two foods that tend to make you feel hungry all the time, and I know you're not going to like it when I tell you, but it's flour and sugar. Now, there is so much research on why flour and sugar is not good for the body, but I want to go over it from a scientific viewpoint in terms of talking about insulin levels, about hormone levels, right? Because most of the women that I work with, we're dealing with hormones of one way or another. And I've always thought about it and taught about the female hormones, but actually the hormones that regulate blood sugar and that regulate hunger and fullness are the things that tend to get imbalanced the most, especially as you get older. So if you have too much insulin in your body, and all your body does, insulin comes from your pancreas, and anytime you eat, basically your pancreas is going to put out insulin. If you eat a lot, your pancreas is pumping out insulin a lot. But more than that, when you eat flour and sugar, your pancreas has to work extra hard. And that is the problem. The more your pancreas has to work and the higher the insulin is in your body, the more your body is going to carry fat. It's not going to be able to burn its own fat. Now, this is not really new news, but I have been studying it more and more because of the clients that I've had that have had so much trouble with their hunger scales. Because this is what I have found. Our hunger scales are adapted to the way that we eat. And if you're one of those persons who eats a lot of flour and sugar, then your hunger scale is going to be very different from somebody who does not eat flour and sugar. So for people who do not eat flour and sugar, number one, their insulin levels are going to be lower. And when their insulin levels are lower, number two, their bodies are going to start burning their own fat. Because whenever insulin is low, your body can burn its own fat. When insulin is high, your body cannot burn its own fat, right? Because it's already burning up sugar all the time. And so what we want to do is what I want to do is to be able to help you recalibrate your hunger scale. So right now, for those of you who eat often, right? Because if you're eating a lot, number one, you're going to be raising your insulin levels a lot and you're going to be feeling hungry a lot. If insulin is high, you're going to be feeling hungry. Now, if you're feeling hungry all the time and you can't quite tell what's going on with your hunger scale, it may be because of these foods that you're eating. This is called overhunger. You're hungry all the time, and the reason that you're hungry all the time is because the food that you're putting in your body is messing with your own hunger scale. This is what I have found to be true, and these are some of my advanced tools, is that many of you need to recalibrate your hunger scale to find out what is actually true hunger for you, true physiological hunger. And you cannot find that out if you've been eating a lot of flour and sugar. I know that might be sad news for some of you, or it could be very exciting news for you if you thought there was something wrong with you because you were thinking you were hungry all the time and you didn't think it was emotional. This is the reason why, is because it probably needs calibration due to the foods that you eat. So step number one, being able to stop overeating, is to be able to stop overhunger. And the way to stop overhunger is to be able to recalibrate your hunger scale by not eating flour and sugar, lowering your insulin levels, which also directly affect your hormones that regulate hunger and fullness. So maybe what some of you have noticed is that no matter what you eat, you still feel hungry. That's because that hormone is not functioning properly. And the same thing with the hormone of fullness. The purpose of it is to make sure that after you've eaten, that hormone kicks in, tells your brain to stop. But if those hormones are imbalanced, which are regulated by insulin levels, then basically you have a hormonal imbalance that's messing with your hunger scale. I hope this is making sense to you, because for those of you who thought, I don't know why I can't do this. This may be one of your answers. I call it my advanced tools because for those of you who are just doing fine with all the tools that I've taught you so far, this is either going to be new information that you might want to check out, or two, you might want to just keep doing what you're doing. But I guess most of you know, any of you, I would say most of the people that I work with could be nutritionists themselves. I think most of us know that flour and sugar are not good for our bodies, but our bodies really weren't even made to be able to digest flour and sugar. It doesn't really know what to do with it. The only thing that really happens when we eat it, other than it deeply inflames our body, is that it creates huge dopamine effects on our brain. High pleasure, and it's artificial. And the more that our brains do that, the more our brains tell us we need it. And that's what starts messing with our hunger scale. So I'm afraid to tell you, or happy to tell you, if you've been looking for a solution, that the first part of this is looking to see how much flour and sugar you eat. Step number 2, once we start dealing with overhunger, then we have to look at overdesire. Now, before I go into overdesire, I want to tell you guys something that I think you might really be interested in. I'm doing a free webinar next week, March 15th at 12 o'clock noon Central, that is going to start dealing. I'm going to use some really great pictures and give you some really good information on overdesire and overhunger, the science behind it, how it affects insulin, why it creates so many problems in the brain, and what you can do about it. It's really going to be jam-packed, and it's really the beginning of introducing all of my advanced tools. So if you want to do that and you're interested in it, I want you to be able to go to drdebbutler.com/stop, right? Because the name of the webinar is Stop Overeating. So if you're interested in signing up for this free class, go to drdebbutler.com/stop. And I will be looking forward to meeting you next week because I want to see some of you guys. I want you to be there. I'm going to offer a bonus, and the only way you're going to get it is if you're there. So go ahead and sign up and make sure you show up. Now, overdesire. Overdesire has a lot more to do with our emotions. And overdesire and desire, and I know I've talked about this a little bit in our podcast, is a feeling that is always created by our minds, right? So an overdesire or desire is also called an urge. And you guys have listened to a bunch of my podcasts now where I've been talking to you a lot about urges and how strong they are and how bad they feel and how much you want to give into it. But this overdesire, it's like you want it so bad, is really created from your mind. Overhunger is created from your physiological body and the physiology of the way the body works, the brain and dopamine, insulin, and your hormone level, your hormones of fullness and hunger. That all creates overhunger. But overdesire comes from your mind and what you think. And so many of the things that you've been thinking for so long that are running around in your head are creating desire and you don't even know it. And I will tell you this about overdesire. This is my wish for you. This is my wish for myself, is that food can become neutral. Take it or leave it. Like the only reason that you would want to eat is because you're hungry, period. It's no more exciting than that. I really want you to be able to see food as boring, like the reason you eat is to fuel yourself. And that your life is so exciting you can't wait to get to it. Because right now, for so many people, it's the opposite. The reason you have so much overdesire is because of all the thoughts that you've created around food. It's your fun. It's your celebration. It's your socialization, right? It's your relaxation. That's a lot of drama around food that's caused from thoughts in your mind that you've been using for so long that food is like becoming your best friend, like it's becoming the biggest treasure in your life as opposed to your life being its biggest treasure. So how do you solve over desire? I told you how we're going to start working on over hunger. And over desire comes from everything that we've been talking about becoming aware of what you're thinking. Now, many of you, when you feel the strong desire to eat, don't realize that you're thinking something to yourself that's creating it. In other words, brownies themselves, when you look at them, does not cause over desire. Brownies by themselves are neutral, right? It's not until you think something about the brownies that it creates a feeling. Now, if you're one of those people that says to themselves, I love chocolate, or I can't resist chocolate, or I have to eat any brownie that's in front of my eyes, or I love them, then you are going to have over desire every time you see a brownie, right? So what's the solution? Don't keep brownies around? No. The solution is to be able to see, my goodness, of all the thoughts that I could choose to think, I'm choosing those, right? And the only reason that you're choosing them is because they're running around automatically in your head. And just because they're there, you're letting them run when they're very, very unconscious already, right? Because they started out conscious sometime probably when you were younger. And this is what I was thinking, when I'm thinking about over desire and where these thoughts come from. I don't know how many of you saw Lady Bird, the movie. It was a wonderful, wonderful movie, up for a lot of Academy Awards, and I'm a big Academy Award person. But this is what I want to tell you about that. Not as much about what the gist of the story was, but what I saw that was going on in there between Lady Bird and her best friend. They used food for everything. That's all I saw. Is I saw two young girls laughing together at night, stuffing food into their mouths and laughing. And I thought to myself, that was me. And I bet you it was you too. It's like, when did we get the idea that overeating, crappy food is the most fun that we could possibly ever have? Because I think these two best friends thought that. And it can create a lifetime of over desire because of the thoughts that you start creating. When they first did it, it's a very conscious thought. And then it goes back into the most primitive part of the brain and it's run automatically. And then all of a sudden, whenever it comes up, you just believe it's true. Like, oh, I want to have fun. Well, of course, I'm going to eat. Oh, I feel bad. Well, of course, I'm going to eat. Those type of thoughts create over desire. I cannot resist it. That kind of stuff. It makes you feel like you have to eat it when all along they're just sentences or thoughts that are running around in your head that are creating that feeling. Okay, so what is the solution? This is what I'm offering you today, and this is the beginning of offering you some new tools and some new way to look at things. Because number one, if you don't want to eat flour and sugar, you're going to have to look at it in a way that's going to make you feel good. And if you feel restricted, which many of you might, I want to offer you this about restriction. I don't know how many of you are married, but I've been married for 40 years. And I will tell you this, in those 40 years, I have had no desire to kiss another man. I really haven't. I have had no desire to want to date another man. I made a commitment to my husband, and I've stuck with it, and I've never regretted it, and I also don't feel restricted. That's how I think is the possibility for looking at foods that don't serve your body. If you look at it as a restriction and it makes you feel bad, then of course you might want to do something to cover up that negative emotion. But what if it doesn't make you feel bad? It's like if you got married and you're really happy in your marriage, do you make restriction mean poor you? Or do you go, hey, this is just great. It's nothing, right? It's like neutral. Who cares? I love my husband. I don't need another man. I'm not saying all of you. I know there's lots. But for the most part, most of the people that I talk to who are happily married don't feel that this is a bad thing. They think it's a good thing. They don't need the other men. They don't want to go have affairs with other men. They just want to stay in their marriage because that's their commitment. What if you decided to make a commitment like that to yourself around flour and sugar and didn't make it mean a bad thing or something wrong with you, but something that you just chose to do because you just didn't want it anymore? What a difference. That's what I'm offering you. The option to be able to make food boring and life exciting. If this sounds good to you and you're thinking, maybe she's up to something. If you're thinking that some of the tools that I've been using aren't working as well for you as you would like to, then some of these new tools might be just for you. If you want to learn more about them, not only can you listen to more of my podcasts, but I'm actually going to give a webinar where you can learn even more about it. So if that sounds good to you, I want you to go to drdebbutler.com/stop, because that's the name of the webinar, Stop Overeating. And I'll see you there next week on March 15th at 12 o'clock noon. And of course, as always, even though I'm not in the Caribbean anymore and I'm looking at the woods and the sky and the birds, I still wish for you the very, very best. And I want you to be very, very, very kind to yourself. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast with my wife, Dr. Deborah. I've enjoyed working with her and living with her. That's right, we work and live together for 40 years, more than 40 years. It's amazing how time flies. And it's been like a little tree growing in the yard, and now it's a big tree, our love. So I would like to invite you to correspond with Dr. Deborah. Go to iTunes, drdebbutler.com/iTunes, and you can review the show, and you can even give some helpful suggestions on what you would like to talk about in the future to accomplish your mindfulness and your journey into mindfulness. Thank you.